Hey, folks, it is January the 7th, 2021, and we're finishing up chapter 27, and that has to do with the Second Punic War, the Second Carthaginian War. And the terms we have on the board today are Capua, Mataras, Utica, Zama, and peace. And so we're going to tie up this war today. And tomorrow, I don't know. I haven't made up my mind. We might have a lecture tomorrow, or we might have an assignment. We'll have to see. But in any case, like next week, because of benchmark testing, we're supposed to have our benchmark testing here on campus. And so Monday is going to be algebra. Tuesday is going to be, biology. And then Wednesday is supposed to be English. And so we're not going to have a history class those 3 days. I have a substitute teacher on Thursday as well. So really next week, the only day we're going to have a lecture is Friday. So, okay, let's go ahead and begin. All right, so kids, let's see the images I have for today, thanks to Google Images. All right, so here we have a painting of like the beforehand pep talk, kind of like the pep rally before the Battle of Capua by Hannibal's brother. Does anybody remember his brother's name? Hasdrubal, of course. If I ever have another son, I'll name him Hasdrubal. All right, so Hasdrubal, does Hasdrubal make it?
No.
Nah, he winds up getting pretty deaded. So poor Hasdrubal reaches room temp by the end of the battle, but it looks like he's kind of pretty good sense of confidence. Huh? Okay, so once again, Carthaginians, they fought a hard battle. By now, the Romans had learned a lot as far as fighting elephants. One, they figure out that if you get rid of the guy who's driving the elephant, kind of like Alexander found out, the elephants go crazy. They have a very significant bond with their handlers. They're raised all the way from being a calf to an adult. But also, they figure out that elephants' feet do not nearly have as thick and tough hide as their upper bodies. So they make these little spiky things called caltrops. And they throw them down. Poor elephants step on them and get boo-boos on their feet and fall down. And it's not very good for them. So
I just want to say that elephant has a spear sticking out of its forehead.
this?
Yeah.
Well, it looks like it's broken, see? It's like snapped. And because the handlers would always have this, and they would use this to tug the ears to let them know what direction to go instead of using reins.
That makes way more sense.
It's like elephant reins, they just go all the way up here. So they just tug the ear with this little hook.
A fire poker.
Yeah, it looks like a fire poker. We've seen these from other pictures as well from other more ancient battles. So, and here you got little parapet tower. Yeah, just kind of right now. Once again, this was a major battle. It was a massive defeat because these were supposed to be reinforcements for Hannibal. And if these reinforcements would have reached Hannibal, well, the odds for him taking Rome would have been much better. It also had resupplies, money to pay his troops, a lot of things that they really, really needed, and that the Carthaginian oligarchs were kind of hard-nosed to provide. The Romans then decided to send a delivery to Hannibal, his brother's head. And so it doesn't look like he enjoyed receiving that.
Disturbed. He looks a little like disturbed.
It's like,
Oh, this is inaccurate. He still has 2 eyes.
hey, you're right. You're right. Well, maybe he forgot to wear his eye patch. So
You can't really tell. So maybe he just didn't feel like putting it on.
yeah,
Maybe it's like glasses and it's so early in the morning that he didn't wear it. Like, you know, where it's like you
He
just take
forgot
off
it.
your glasses when you sleep.
he
Maybe
left
he
it in
takes
his
off
other
his eye
tent.
patch when he sleeps. Just didn't put it back on.
Well, in any case, he looks horrified by his brother's new weight loss plan.
Maybe it's uncomfortable. Maybe he's just willing to go.
Here, of course, we have Scipio Africanus. This is based on the bust I showed you earlier, which had him looking probably definitely when he was older. He's going to be one of the great heroes of the Roman Republic. As a young general, not even in his 30s yet, is able to outmaster and outthink so many other generals of his day. He's going to lead to this surprising victory in Spain. And then, despite being told it wouldn't work, he manages to round up a legion based on volunteers of the commoners, of the plebeians, and sail down across the Mediterranean to Carthage. So here we go. Here you can see the little fancy map. And so, see, Scipio is the red line, so he's going to start from Rome here, march across, go across Sicily, and sail over Carthage. And of course, Hannibal is going to be called back, especially after Utica here. See? So after the fall of Utica, they're going to be like, oh my gosh, Hannibal, get here now. And so he's like, okay. Sails over
He's more like.
and marches to march. And both the armies will march and meet here in the fields of Zama, where they will have a massive speed. Oh, here's the ruins of Utica. One cool thing about Tunisia is it is full along the coast of these just ruins, right? Like Carthaginian ruins. You can find a whole bunch of them still left standing like this. Coastline's very pretty too. It's like I spent a few months about here, kind of south of Carthage one summer. It was really, really hot. Pretty country though, pretty country. People don't like Americans though, they throw rocks at you. All right, so moving on. Here's the Battle of Zama. So once again, the Roman legion, and you'll notice that the Roman legionnaires here, this is pretty accurate. A lot of times throughout, it's not going to be until later in the Roman Republic and during the Roman Empire when they start wearing the segmenta armor, where it looks kind of like plates of steel, like you might see in the movies. But chainmail is very effective, and especially for like super hot climates like this. Of course, sometimes they also wore hardened boiled leather armor, which was like layered to be thick, or Roman officers could afford to have elephant hide armor, which was very thick and very effective.
People with their trunk.
Yeah,
They're strong.
I just see it has a spiked tusk there just to make it like,
Threatening.
yeah. So it's like getting gored by a super cow. Once again, now, of course, you have to remember the elephants only came at most in a few dozen. Most of the battle was done by infantry against infantry, with cavalry flanking and auxiliaries firing missiles, usually in the form of bows and arrows. But of course, sometimes slings and sometimes throwing spears. Of course, here you see the standard Roman pilum, which is like a really kind of a thick but short staffed spear with a very thin, pointy metal end here that's actually meant to not only be good at penetrating, but it'll even break off if it gets in you. And so leaving no hope for survival. This isn't very good, but I mean, under this lighting, it's the best I can find. This is a Renaissance painting of the triumph of Scipio. And so a triumph was like a super big military parade. I think we talked about it before. Usually the leaders of the enemies were brought in chains. They would bring in all this loot, kind of like parade floats. The soldiers were, this is the only time Roman soldiers were allowed to come in with weapons in this parade. And at the end of the parade, the Roman general who won the war, won the battles, would get to go up to Capitoline Hill, up to their great temple of Jupiter, and they would bring up the leaders of the enemies, and often they would execute them there in front of a cheering public. So it was the big to-do in Rome. It took an act of the Roman Senate to announce a triumph. There's another Renaissance painting. You can see that they're still kind of working on some things like proportions and depth and scale, but they're doing the best they could, right?
There's a dog, I think. Is that a dog?
Yeah. So this is all, of course, their interpretation, the artist's eye interpretation. Right? Historical accuracy is one of those things that's just going to have to come over time. But art gets better about that. What they're doing is they're kind of projecting the things, their imagination, the tools and the things they see around them. That's going to be later. So, yep. So he's going to be hero of the day, and he's going to get this super cool name, Africanus, because they're like, hey, you defeated Africa. All right, so, and it really was it wasn't the preeminent power at the time of Africa. Well, okay, it was the preeminent power. Egypt was still there and kind of powerful, but we're going to see that when Rome goes to Egypt, they're going to realize that Egypt's kind of like, it's really fallen behind the rest of the world. It used to be a military superpower people could be afraid of, nobody could conquer, but Romans are going to find that they're really easy to push around. All right, so let's go ahead and get our terms down, kids. All right, so Capua. What was Capua? It was, remember we had,
City and Sicily.
what?
City and Sicily.
Yeah, city. Sicilian city. And remember, Sicily was where it all started with the first Carthaginian. And so now after they sided, kind of unwillingly with Carthage, they were like, well, they're going to kill us if we don't side with them.
Is that AU or UA?
UA.
Ooh,
Capua.
No, I'm talking about
UA.
I'm talking about the second word.
Why? Sicilian
Is there two A's? What?
I think you mean.
and
Sicilian.
better. All right. And what happened at this Sicilian city? The Romans. Yeah.
Burn, crispy fry.
Yeah. We're just gonna say taken by the Romans. Yeah, and punished. They were punished for what?
Being like Roman or Latin and like not doing
Siding
things.
with Carthage.
Yes, siding with Carthage. You're like, how dare you? Like, they're gonna kill us. So what?
And if there were any Romans, weren't they like crucified?
Yeah, well, yeah, oh yeah, and that's coming later on. Yeah, so like, and that was seen as very demeaning because crucifixion was only left for slaves at this point in Roman law. And so for a Roman citizen to be crucified, it's because they betrayed their home country. And that's like, well, we can't take you to the Tarpeian Rock, because it's way too far away. So we'll just crucify you. Pretty brutal. Horrible way to go. All right, so Metaurus. Now, who was the Carthaginian leader for Metaurus? It was Hannibal's.
Hasdrubal.
Yeah, Hasdrubal, Hannibal's brother. We don't have to memorize his name, so let's go. Your new marker. So Hannibal's brother. Oh, he's gonna make it. It's new, but it's like 5 years old. So didn't make it. So Hannibal's brother fought the Romans.
But lost.
Yeah. Here, we'll add this first. While bringing supplies and reinforcements. But it's kind of like a race, like a car race. It's as if you just took away the fuel and the replacement tires and all that stuff from your opposing team. You stop their reinforcements. You stop their supplies. Now the car can't run. So Hannibal's army would not be able to run, and lost to Rome, just like you said. So, well, this one's doing really good.
And
Oh, yeah. Rumor has it he's still dead to this day. All right. Now, Utica. So somebody sails down right next to Carthage, and they notice that the Carthaginian army is at Utica. Who's that person and what does he do?
Scipio.
Yeah, Scipio. Sailed next to Carthage. And what does he tell the army at Utica?
We might make peace though.
Yeah. At Utica, he lied to the Carthaginian army. And what does he do? How did he get rid of them?
He burnt their camp.
Yeah. So, and burned their camp. He tricked them. Which, it's war, I mean, you can find examples of leaders doing this kind of thing in war, modern wars, even back to biblical wars. It's war. And defeated them. So yeah, pretty smart. So that's basically like they're just losing army after army. Carthage is like, oh my goodness, we were so close to being victorious, and now the Roman army is right outside of our walls. What are we gonna do? We'll bring back home Hannibal. And what happens to Hannibal in Zama?
He does. Except he doesn't.
He doesn't.
He doesn't.
I remember he gets all like, wow, man, I worked so hard, and now they're like ruining everything.
Yeah. Hannibal recalled home to save Carthage. Who beats him?
Rome.
Yeah, Scipio, the Roman general, defeated him and won the war. So to the end of it. Hey. So that's going to be the end of that war right there. And now that brings us to this last point on peace. So let's start off with the Carthaginians. What does peace mean for Carthage? What happens to them?
They have to give up a bunch of their supplies for Roman people.
Yeah. So Carthage,
Rome takes anything that could be used to attack them.
yeah, Carthage had to lose its navy, army,
Oh yeah, that one.
ability to wage war, even to defend itself.
And they're slaves, right?
Um,
I thought that was
no, it was
something.
They also
anyone
had to
who
pay-
joined their side and traitors. So if somebody betrayed Rome to help Carthage and they thought they were safe in Carthage, Carthaginians hand them over. Oh, and I almost forgot. And paid huge money, big reparation payments. So, and of course, Scipio, a hero. He's going to be called Africanus. And what did Rome gain out of this war?
You lost a bunch of your population.
Yeah, that's right. So, yeah, they lost a lot of lives. Yeah.
I think it's at 250,000 people.
And for back then, people, that's a lot of people because the population was a lot lower back then. But also, now the major power of the region. Nobody can compete with them now. They won't have any real competition again until like the Parthians, but that's going to be way in the east and too far to really affect their homeland.
And then also Hannibal ran away from responsibility, I guess.
Not, there,
Well, the Romans were demanding him to be
Yeah.
turned over to be
So he just
executed.
ran.
Yeah, so
I
he
thought they-
bailed.
I thought it was because he was such a great pro. Did they want him to be executed because he was just doing a good job at
Yeah,
his
they
job?
figured he was going to make Carthage really strong again. And like a strong Carthage is a war Carthage. Get rid of him. And so he was like, well,
No.
I don't really trust my people that much because I'm sure they'll turn me up. So he fled.
Good call.
Well, I mean, yeah, right. Because you're like, and it would put your country in a big predicament. Because what if they tried to defend you? Then there would be a war just for one person, and that's not very fair.
The Trojan War.
why not?
Yeah, I was like, I just can't do that. So you could say that it could have been an act of love for his home country. All right, folks, so that's going to end it for our lecture today. Don't forget your benchmarks next week and all that good stuff. See you later.